states who have blasphemy laws.
Yeah. Faye, what do you think are blasphemy laws?
So blasphemy laws, like that whole concept was actually introduced by CEMB in the events that I went to. I was completely unaware that it was a thing. I've always lived in this bubble. I've always lived in London. I've been through some tough times, but in comparison to that, I'm pretty privileged.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was a child, I read a lot of Orwell. Like Orwell is like one of my favorite writers.
Oh, right.
And yeah,
Okay.
and I read 1984, and I always thought, wow, that must be like a really miserable existence. Like someone always watching over you, someone always trying to hunt you down and trying to find ways of like persecuting you, imprisoning you, killing you. Like that. 1984 is just like, it's exactly what blasphemy laws are. It's a way to police people's way of thinking. It's a way to police people's beliefs. And it's a complete way of stripping someone's individuality from them.
Yeah.
Like there's a point in 1984 where he holds a stone, like a really decorative stone, and for some reason that wasn't allowed in that socialist world. And he says that this stone is completely pointless, but I should be able to have it. And that's exactly what blasphemy is. Yes, it might be pointless, but it's not pointless if people aren't allowed to do it.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel as though we have to do it. Because I've heard the arguments from the other side where it's like, oh, you're just inciting disrespect, like you're not trying to build bridges, you're just being disrespectful. But the very fact that people just can't think about it, like I don't think it would be a thing. We wouldn't be blaspheming.
I'm going to get to
I know. Sorry,
challenging
I'm like rambling.
blasphemy laws.
But that's what I think of it. It's just very Orwellian, very Big Brother, very thought policing, and it's crazy that something like that actually exists. I never thought that was a real thing.
Yeah. Why should blasphemy laws be challenged?
I wanted to give like a little bit of backstory because I did my own blasphemy day. I feel like I did something way different to everyone else, which seems to be a theme now. But in preparation for it, I didn't know that it was going on. Like Ali had told me it was going on, and I saw like one tweet from you, and I was like, why do you guys never involve me in anything? I wasn't part of the group chat. I had to like email Sahel and be like, hey, can you add me? But in preparation for it, Ali was drawing up the list, right? For the
me and another volunteer from CMB.
Yeah, so you were drawing up the list for everyone who's been assassinated, everyone who's been killed, everyone who's in prison due to blasphemy laws, and we were talking about it, and you were explaining the idea, like we're all going to pick one, we're all going to talk about it. And I've spoken about Sahel Arabi on my channel, and I felt like I had to because I went to that protest with Armin Navabi back in August. But as you were telling me these stories, and I think you were like, you saw it on my face, like I could not like register what you were telling me. Like it didn't make any sense to me that you were telling me about this Pakistani Christian couple who were illiterate, but the FIA had found text messages that they sent to each other that they considered to be blasphemy or something like that. And I was like, they're going that far to persecute minorities. I made an Ahmadi friend. She said that her uncle in Pakistan, his mosque got shot up a day before his daughter was born. And he had like 32 bullets, didn't make it. Wow. Like these are minorities. These are Muslim minorities as well.
Ahmadis in Pakistan, they get the worst end of the stick.
Who are persecuted. She told me that on their passport, they have to have Ahmadi. They can't have Muslim on their passport. If they identify as Muslim, it can be recorded as blasphemy. And they can be persecuted and prosecuted for it under the law. Let me finish my point. But I was hearing all these stories, and I just didn't feel justified in talking about just one person. Like we hear about our Sharif Gabbers, we hear about our Sahel Arabis, we hear about our Raif Badawis, we hear about all of these people. But these are people that we know about. What about all the people that we don't hear from? All the articles that aren't published, all the people who are just taken in and we never hear from them again. Sinin Kafir on Twitter had to just go blank. He just had to disappear from the internet because he's in a situation where he has to protect himself first before talking. I could not sit back and just, say one thing about one person and then just take a step back. We have to stand in solidarity with these people. We have to blaspheme with these people because it's not just their fight. It is everyone's fight.
It is everyone's fight.
It is such a basic thing to be able to think for yourself. Like everything else, veganism, global warming, like all of that stuff comes second. If you cannot think, what can you do?
Yeah. I just the whole
to make this argument are going to make that argument but won't support free thinkers and atheists.
It's crazy to make the argument. You're comparing two evils to justify one evil.
Yeah,
saying,
the double standard is ridiculous. Like, if you care so much about is Muslim blood more precious to you? Is that what you're saying?
But I think it is. In the mind of a believer, it is. Have you wait, when I was going to the mosques, right? You're always told how somebody who's not Muslim is misguided. And even if it's like Sunni Shia, we can get into the real Muslim and Salafis later. But like, we're always told that you're lucky to be born as a Muslim, right? And you have that mindset, like going back to New Zealand, Muslim, and I'm like, yes, that hurts. And it also hurts every day. Their Muslim parents killing their daughters, and you don't hear about it.
You know, when I made my Awesome Without Allah video, and I had declared that after I left Islam, I just had this unconditional love for everyone. And a lot of Muslims came to me and said, well, that's because you had something wrong with you. That's not because of Islam.
No, I got the same when I used the argument.
No, the otherizing that Muslims have mentally is so extreme. Like when we are talking about free thinkers being killed in these countries, and these people have no support. We were talking about the Christians who are in prison in Pakistan right now, and they have support from Christian missionaries. It's still not enough, but they have something. But free thinkers and atheists have nothing because we're terrible at supporting our own community.
A brilliant example of that is Asia Bibi's case. Because even if you Google prosecution for blasphemy right now, for first 10 pages, all you see is Asia Bibi. When there's 40 other people in Pakistan who are on death row right now. Right, not prosecuted, not in jail awaiting trial, on death row, been sentenced to death. There are 7 of them are Christian. But what happens in the West? One case gets the media attention, and then international human rights organizations start pumping in money into that case and start raising awareness about that case. And also, what they do, they are really, really cunning in choosing the case they highlight. So. They highlight a case where they are sure that it was an innocent person who's been wrongfully accused of blasphemy.
But it's all wrongfully.
In technical terms, by the law. So people like Ayaz Nizami, Junaid Hafiz, Taimur Raza, who actually might have committed blasphemy. I'm not saying they have, because I don't want to give ammunition to the Pakistani government, who can take any word from anywhere and prosecute them on the basis of that, who might have committed blasphemy and rotting in jail. International human rights organizations don't pick up those cases, because then you have to fight the country and saying your laws are wrong. They'll pick a case like Asia Bibi, who was completely innocent. And then they say, okay, if an innocent person gets acquitted of that crime, that law is still there.
But the point that I was trying to make was that those people still get support. Free thinkers and atheists do not get the same treatment because we don't have missionary groups going around supporting people. So when Muslims come to us and they delegitimize our argument by saying you're being disrespectful and why don't you do this for Muslims? First of all, we do this for Muslims. We've spoken about the atrocities in China many, many times. And it is a horrible, disgusting atrocity. And I cannot fathom what those people are going through. But it is hypocritical. It is deeply hypocritical for you to say that we should be supporting Muslims when it's so obvious that you do not have any support for these human beings who are on death row, being imprisoned, attacked by the mob, ridiculed by their families, rejected from their countries. It is disgusting that you will not support these people, but demand that we support your people, even though we already do. When I first left Islam and I started doing this, I still feel weird about calling it activism because it's just talking about me. It's very narcissistic in a sense. But when I first left, I didn't see much point in blasphemy. People would send me like these heretical poems, and I would be like, okay, you do you, sort of thing. And these would be people in Arab countries. These would be people in Pakistan. Once a girl sent me the Quran, but she'd like thrown out underwear on it or something. It was like, and I looked at it, and I feel like mentally I kind of judged her. Like I didn't say anything, but I judged her because that I feel like that's beneath me. But then, like, after a time, and it wasn't until like last month that I didn't really understand blasphemy or why it was something that we needed to fight for. And I realized that the ostracism that I faced from my family, from my Muslim community, from my friends that I used to have, it's nothing compared to living in constant fear. It's nothing compared to living in constant fear. The fact that we exist is enough for it to be blasphemy. It doesn't even have to be that, we say that Allah is gay, or we draw a picture of Muhammad, or we burn a Quran, or we, piss on something. I don't know. Go to a dargah and throw some shit around. I don't know. It doesn't have to be that. It just, our very existence as ex-Muslims, as people who have left Islam, is blasphemy. And people who say that blasphemy has no place in our protest, they don't understand that they're already blaspheming just by existing. And that whole concept, we in our place of privilege, we are in the West, we can say what we want. Yes, we face whatever we face here, but everything we face here is nothing compared to what people in Saudi Arabia go through, in Iran, in Pakistan, in all these other countries. And even if it's not in place by the law, it is in place by the mob, who will come after you and lynch you simply because you're gay, simply because you're not a Muslim anymore, simply because you're a feminist. Like, how many Saudi progressive Muslim scholars did they put to death last year? They hung them.
Saudi had over
How many
170
feminists
kills.
do we have tortured and imprisoned in Saudi Arabia right now? Muslim feminists.
Yeah.
It is truly disgusting that we can sit here and we can look down our noses at them. It is our responsibility as people who have gone through something similar, and by no means the same, but similar, that we do this in solidarity with them.
We do. Yes. And yes, that's right. In Hanafi Islam, that's rife in the subcontinent Islam. It's all Hanafi Islam. It says apostasy is blasphemy. It's literally written in Hanafi Islam that apostasy is blasphemy, and it's the punishment for is mandatory death.
Okay, Zara's turn.